Good evening, everyone. This is Disco from the All Shapes and Sizes podcast, and welcome to another edition of Disco's Daily Report. First, I'd like to say to you guys, season's greetings, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate at this time. As long as you're having a good time, that's all that matters to me. You see, I got my Wu-Tang sweater on, my Christmas Wu-Tang sweater, because I am a Wu head. For all my Wu heads, shout out Wu-Tang Clan. So I want to start my daily report. I've been away for a while, so I'm going to just jump directly into it. There's two stories that I'm going to intertwine in a way for a particular reason. Things that took place this week. The first one is over the last couple of days, let's say, since last week. On Christmas Day, there was a bombing in Tennessee. RV was blown up by a man by the name of, last name is Quinn. I think it's Anthony Quinn, if I'm correct. Anthony Quinn Warner. This man, 63-year-old, blew up a building. Blew up an RV, and destroyed several buildings, about 40 buildings, right? He did warn everyone, made sure, no one else was harmed other than him blowing himself up, so he did do that. So he was responsible enough, let's call it that. So this is a white Caucasian male that actually did this out in Tennessee. The second story is Breonna Taylor. For those that know, Breonna Taylor was assassinated in her home. Her boyfriend was in there trying to defend the house. Cops went in there with what is possibly allegedly being called somewhat of a not valid warrant and assassinated this young lady. One more example of the Black Lives Matter movement is still required. So this is one more example of why it's still required. Another, minority black person being murdered by the hands of the law. So with that being said, this is how I want to tie. This is the conversation I want to have about these two things that took place recently. So with Breonna Taylor, let me just finish with that. Two of the officers that were part of that assassination, I want to call it that, that participated in that murder, were terminated, were given termination letters, so they were fired. One of the gentlemen's name, or one of the murderers' names are, the first one is Miles Cosgrove. This is the officer that fired the fatal shot that killed Breonna Taylor. The second officer is Joshua James, if I'm correct. That's the officer that actually supplied this warrant that's in question now. So this is how I want to tie the two stories together, or how I want to talk about the stories, because we gotta start making sure we examine the bullshit at time and see how we can connect these things here when it's real. So the man, Anthony Quinn Warner, if that's the name, this man actually built bombs in his RV. This man did not just do this action the day before. In 2019, his girlfriend at that time, I think her name is Pamela Perry, reported to the cops that this guy was building bombs in his RV behind his house. There's a report of them even coming to her house, finding two of his guns there. When she, I'm assuming, reiterated again, he's building bombs in his RV. His attorney also warned them at that time and said, yes, y'all need to go check this out. This guy's building bombs in his RV. It is stated that the law enforcement there said that they actually went and did surveillance and did not see anything that appeared to be bomb making or him participating in those actions. So let's understand this. They said they did a surveillance. Now with the surveillance, when you follow this report a little bit further, it's basically that they're sitting there watching him. They're not going into the RV. They're just sitting there watching him. And by just watching him, they determined that we can move past this. They did make an attempt to try to enter his RV, requested permission from this man that they were told is building bombs in his RV, and he declined and said, no, you're not coming in my shit. No. They had no probable cause to go forward with it, so they did nothing. Decided to make these bombs. Fast forward to where we're at now, go down Christmas Day, blow it up. So the way I want to look at this and the conversation I want to have is, we know, a lot of us, especially those that have grown up in the inner city and they have experience with the law enforcement or even watch the news. Let's say you don't even have to grow up in the inner city. You can just watch the news and see this. These cops are rushing into places with bogus warrants. Breonna Taylor situation. Or not valid. Or valid warrants. And in that same scenario, end up murdering an innocent individual. What could have been the most, if let's say there was something negative going on there? What could have been the worst outcome out of that? Of what they were doing from a criminal standpoint. With this gentleman, Anthony Quentin Warner, he was building bombs that can actually murder hundreds to thousands of people. Even if he evacuated everybody, what if he didn't? What if it just went off? What if he did something wrong and I want to let everybody know so they can evacuate? No, blows it up, and I think he destroyed 40 buildings. What if he'd have turned around and murdered thousands of people? The difference is that man that they knew or they heard from information from a valid source that he was building bombs. Not traps, not let's say this, not even selling drugs or whatever it might be, even though he did get arrested for selling drugs, I think, in the early 70s. We're not even going to go there. But this is what takes place. So my problem, I think this is everybody's problem, but the conversation is, look how things are treated. Let's stay focused and make sure that we're paying attention to how people are being treated in the aftermath of that. They're also stating that his act is not an act of terrorism currently, based off of their definition of what a domestic terrorism is. How is that not? You're wondering? Don't fucking ask me, because I don't know. Makes no sense. But let's just pay attention, stay woke, see what takes place in two scenarios, where the world's going and what we have a problem with, but how easily how easy it was for that young lady to be assassinated. And congratulations to her family for getting this little small bit of some type of satisfaction during this holiday time. It's just a small step. We got to keep the pressure. But I'm glad that they were able to receive something around this time. But when you compare the two, it doesn't make sense. Stay woke. Keep the pressure going. Keep the conversation going. Pay attention. Have the examples out there. Constantly use them. Tie back everything that needs to be tied back. Because I don't want to keep working or looking at these things in silos. And I think we do that a lot. We look at them in vacuums and, oh, this situation here. No, we got to be able to relate this to that. To show what's disproportionate and what doesn't make sense. No, don't want to, go too much farther, with this conversation, because I know people are hopefully talking about this at the kitchen table with their kids. I don't care if you're black, white, Spanish, Chinese, whatever you are. If you're of conscience and you're a human, because that's what we all are. We're all human beings. Have these conversations. Push the issue. Once again, this is Disco Daily Report. More to come. Enjoy 2021, because we need it to be different. Enjoy.